Why did you get banned? Why did you go to jail?
I'm fully aware that I would not have been banned or cancelled if I wasn't Andrew's brother. If I had played things my way, me and Andrew would probably be back in jail. I jumped off the rock. I'm not scared of jail. You want to send me back? Good, because if you send me back, you're now going to have to explain to the world why.
Can they even do that? Like, what is the crime? Every story, all the girls, it's only towards Andrew.
They don't care about the truth. They just want to spin some negative story. They wanted the Tate brothers in jail. It's us against the world.
So when you hear the word Tate, you think about Andrew Tate, but it's really the brothers, Andrew and Tristan Tate. And when I think about Tristan Tate, I told him earlier, I said, you could have gone a completely different route. The guy looks like a Hollywood star. He looks like a movie star. He looks like he could have played James Bond. Maybe they should even consider him for James. I know they just made the announcement. He looks like a real James Bond. Dresses like one, has the personality of one. The ladies love him. If you've never seen his pictures, just go on Google, type in Tristan Tate. You'll see what he looks like, good looking guy. But he's got a completely different identity to himself, very different than Andrew. We had a very good time talking to Andrew, your brother, and the way he built you up today was very unique. I've seen you guys talk to each other about each other, but the way he did it today was very different. Anyways, Tristan, it's good to have you on the podcast.
It's good to finally meet
Yes.
you.
Last time we met in Madrid, but we never did a podcast together.
No, for about 60 seconds. I was saying I was eating Spanish paella the night before, cracked one of my teeth, and then the next morning Andrew wakes me up saying, okay, let's go to Patrick's podcast, and I had this big swollen face, so I hid inside of my hotel, but I did catch you for about 45 seconds by reception because we were staying in the same place.
Yeah.
And you thought I'd been in a fight.
I thought, because you guys fight, I'm like, this guy probably got into a fight. Apparently now I know the story.
He lost to some muscles, but not the good kind of muscles.
Yeah, not the good kind.
So here's my question for you. When we read the stories about why, Andrew's gone to prison, or Andrew this, or this woman came out, or that woman came out, why did you go to jail? Why did you get banned? Why did they take your Instagram down? I mean, I remember the pictures. It was all cars and suits and motivational stuff. So is it guilty by association?
It is guilty by association. I hate to say it, but I'm fully aware that I would not have been banned or cancelled or probably ended up in jail if I wasn't Andrew's brother. But there are so many benefits that come with being Andrew's brother that you have to take the good with the bad. So it didn't upset me too much. No, I smiled about it.
Where does this positive attitude come from? You could be the victim. Oh, Andrew, you did this. Yeah, you landed me in jail. Look at all our assets are seized. Yet, smile on your face, as gracious, just humble guy. Where did all this come from?
It's always been the way me and Andrew are, and we've shared in our successes. The first time he became a millionaire, we celebrated. When I became a millionaire, we celebrated. When we bought our first supercar, we drove that home from the dealership together. So every single positive moment in my life, the first time we ever chartered a private jet, I remember we were just happy, drinking, having a great time on the plane. This is before he reverted, before anybody jumps on that drinking reference. But if you want to take all the good moments from having a relationship, a brotherly relationship like me and Andrew have, and then he becomes the world's most Googled man, one of the most influential men, I guess, in the world. And by default, he's attacked by the Matrix in a way that ends up with him being thrown in prison. I feel like I'd be more mad if I didn't go to prison with him. I'd feel like, I've taken all the good from being associated with Andrew, and, he builds me up and I build him up. And for him to be sitting in jail without me, it would just feel wrong. So I'm not even mad about it. I'm the opposite of mad about it. I'm glad they roped me in with it. I'm glad they said guilty by association. I'm glad they throw me in jail with him. And if they frame him for real and send him back, they better send me back too, or I'll break myself in.
You break yourself into jail.
I'll break into the jail.
Right.
Seduce one of the prison guards or something smart. I
can't see you doing something like that. I can't see you doing something like that. But you did give a good book recommendation earlier. I appreciate that, which was great. It's an inside joke, but so going back to this whole story of, I got confused right now because, we're both in a different place right now.
I got it.
I'm thinking number 7. I'm thinking 8.5. I'm in a whole different place today.
Okay.
But working out is good. Staying in shape is good. All that stuff is a very good thing.
Yeah.
So really though, when you talk to your lawyers, why did they put you in jail? I mean, I know it's guilty by association. Can they even do that? Like, what is the crime? Every story, all the girls, it's only towards Andrew. Where are you involved?
Yeah, well, when digging through Andrew's entire past, trying to find a reason to put him in jail, what you have to understand is we have not been accused by X number of women. The prosecutor has accused us of doing X to X number of women. These women actually defend us actively. One of the statements in the file is a girl who I used to date a little bit. She details nothing illegal, says nothing illegal went on. She wasn't held against her will, she wasn't trafficked, she wasn't exploited. But because I used to sleep with her, I guess I'm guilty too. So, I mean, I guess one of the girls is my ex. So that's the only real link with me. But yeah, it's guilty by association. They wanted the Tate brothers in jail.
So when they came to arrest, did they come to, was it you and Andrew? It was both of you.
Yeah, they had arrest warrants for both of us. And when they came to arrest us, what's very funny is my cousin's girlfriend was here at the time with her friend. There were actually women in the house at the time. The women in the house were not questioned. The women in the house were not asked if they were okay. The women in the house were not asked if they were in danger, if they were safe. They were completely left alone, left to sit on the couch with us while the police watched over us, while they went through the house and took everything that was valuable. They were Googling the value of the various items. They were marking it down on a spreadsheet, and they left, I think, without saying a single word to the women who were in this house, which is very unusual, you would think, in an investigation about human trafficking. But, you know, you could take what implications from there you will, and guess what their motivations were, if you will, but I can't say anything at the moment.
That makes sense. So we talked to Andrew earlier about his experience in jail. How was the experience for you, from your point of view?
Well, I mean, Romania spends less money per prisoner than any single country in the European Union. The prisons are constantly getting in trouble from the European Union for being underfunded, too many people per room, not enough square meters, not enough calories per day. So the jail experience, it wasn't good, but it was interesting. And I took jail in a very strange way. I feel like if you're gonna walk around the world running your mouth all the time about what you are and what you think you are, eventually something's gonna come along in the world and test you. If you walk around saying, I'm the baddest man on the planet, I can beat anyone up on earth, one day someone in the street is gonna be like, you're the guy who thinks he can beat anyone up and punch your lights out. You know, I don't speak as much as Andrew, but I do say I'm a very strong-minded person. I always preach to young men, if you're going through hardships, you need to deal with it like a man, continue your training, stay focused. And it just felt like God gave me an opportunity to prove to myself, above all else, as well as to everyone else who listens to me, that I am actually what I say I am. So coming out of jail, I'm almost grateful for the experience, as hellish as the environment was.
As hellish as the environment was, you were grateful for it.
Yeah, I'm grateful that my life has been very, very easy for the last 6 or 7 years. I retired from professional fighting when I was 28. The last sad thing that I guess happened to me was my father passing when I was 26 and a half. So I'm 34 now, I'm coming up 35. These things happened a very long time ago. I've increased in wealth, I've increased in fame. I fly around the world doing whatever I like, driving whatever car I like, staying wherever I like, sleeping wherever I like, going, you know, it's been such an amazing experience that I haven't tested myself for real in a very long time. So yeah, grateful for the experience.
Andrew had very high praise about you, right? I mean, we did a whole segment about, he always thought you were the best brother in the world, but after being in jail with you, now he knows, he's confirmed and reaffirmed that you're the best brother in the world. And he almost kind of compared you to like being the yin to his yang, right? And I didn't really fully understand who Tristan was. We've sat with Andrew for hours on end. We had 45 seconds with you after that paella incident, right? But he says that your special gift is you've mastered the art of not giving a fuck. Yeah. So what is that all about?
Well, I'd say it's not giving a fuck in the way that, because I know people who don't give a fuck. Their life sucks. You know, they don't work out. They don't care about their own health, happiness, wealth, work. Not in a degenerate, I'm a bum kind of way. I'll give you a better example, because I know exactly what he means. I feel like, because I am his younger brother, every great general who sits at a table with his staff needs that one fearless guy with him. You know, he needs people who preach prudence and being careful, and we have those people, believe me. They're very, very loud in our ears every single day since getting out of jail. But, you know, if you're a great samurai general and you're sitting around the table, you also need that one guy who says, okay, there's 10,000 of them, there's 5 of us, okay, let's just go. It's more fearlessness than not giving a fuck. If I had played things my way since getting out of jail, me and Andrew would probably be back in jail right now. I'm censoring myself on this podcast, but the first day I got out, I thought, you know what, screw it. Let me just put a camera on, just tell the whole world what's going on, and let them take me away live on stream. That's me. So luckily he keeps me in check, but also I feel like I can inspire him to make a few bolder and braver decisions in life because of my counsel. So I'm very much one of his councilmen, but he does need me at the table. Without that guy, you're just going to be a pussy, you know?
Have you always played the number 2 role? Like, you know, in monarchical times, it was always the eldest son that was passed down to the crown. From your father down to Andrew to you, has it always been an understanding, all right, I'm number 2, my brother's the leader, let me get in line, let's crush it?
You know what, I don't feel it's necessarily like that. I feel it's more that I know what his strengths are, and I'm there to compensate for his weaknesses. He knows what my strengths are, and I'm there to compensate for his weaknesses. So who's the leader and who's not, all depends on the situation that we're in. Certainly me and Andrew have been a team a very long time, and we made a lot of money before we ever blew up on the internet. Our relationship was a lot more equal then, but Andrew is the famous one. I'm fully aware that he's the guy who will go in front of the camera and say the types of things or voice his opinions in a way that garner infamy and fame. And I've blown up alongside him. Mm-hmm. So, you know, part of the price is going to jail.
You know, they say that your ego is not your amigo. There must be some part of you. I mean, you're a 6'4", badass, good-looking, Hollywood-looking guy, girls, Bugattis, yet you're willing to take a back seat to Andrew's fame. So you must have a big ego to be the place that you're in, but you also have to take a step back and say, all right, Andrew, you're the guy. How do you grapple with that?
Well, yeah, with what we're doing now, Andrew's certainly the face of it. But he wanted to build this. This was never my intention. I thought, okay, you're going to make some money on the internet? That's cool, Andrew. You do that. I'll continue doing what... In fact, I'm going to interject with another story. There was a time when me and Andrew could barely pay the rent. He was training and he was fighting full-time. He was a kickboxing one-time world champion, I think, at the time. And I was selling windows. Now, I'm a great salesman. So I was bringing home 1,000 plus British pounds per week. He didn't tell you this story, did he?
No.
He said he was a window salesman.
He said he sold windows, but not the one you bring in.
But he didn't say he was balling out, making 1,000 a week.
No, I mean, that's not balling out. I think these 3 glasses of whiskey cost about $1,000. But I was making about 1,000 British pounds a week. Andrew had a previous sales experience. I was at the time working in sales, and Andrew was just living off his fight money. So I would come home every day. I say, oh, I made this much sales, etc. I'll pay the rent. You keep fighting, because I was helping to support his kickboxing career. One day, Andrew looks at me and he says, you know what, Tristan, I'm just going to start selling for the same company you're selling for. We could bring $2,000-$3,000 into the house a week. We'll have a good life. We'll make money. And I said, Andrew, no, you can't do that. You can't do that, because if you are spending all your time chasing sales leads and knocking on people's doors like I am, then you're never going to find the time to discover something better, to discover something that's going to take us out of this crappy apartment. It's going to take us out of this crappy life. So even back then, when I was willing to work away selling windows instead of kickbox, because I got paid almost nothing. I was the European champion at my height. My most I ever got paid was $1,000 a fight. I knew that wasn't the financially viable option for me. I was willing to sell windows to let Andrew continue to have time to train, but also have time to think. So now, everyone's like, oh, well, he's the face of this online persona, and you guys make a lot of money for it. I'm like, I'm fine behind the scenes. I'm perfectly happy. I'm not missing anything from my life with my 2 million Twitter followers. I need 6.8 million to fulfill. People will often try to, I guess, pit me against Andrew, which is the stupidest idea in the world. But they'll say stupid things to me like, your brother's more famous than you. And I'll say, yeah, my brother's more famous than you. Like, well, what's the big deal? If your brother were Mike Tyson, for example, and someone said your brother's a better boxer than you, you'd be like, yeah, my brother's Mike Tyson. It's this strange type of jealousy and envy that I think a lot of men can't cope with, that makes them drag each other down like crabs in a bucket. If my brother became, a billionaire, the world's richest man, and I had to stay at this level, I'd be like, yeah, my brother's the world's richest man. I'd be proud of him. And I don't see anything wrong with that. It's not a competition. We're a team.
I think that's a big thing. So I got an 11-year-old son and a 9-year-old son. Okay.
Beautiful.
And the perspective to have, there's got to be also a massive level of maturity of the younger one towards the older one. I'm the younger sibling in my family. My sister's 6 years older. But we got a very good relationship in our family. But the wisdom of the younger is different than the wisdom of the older, right? You're more watching, you're more like, okay, yeah, that's probably not a good idea. I saw Dad smack him upside the head. I shouldn't do that. Okay, wow, that's pretty good. That leads to good praise, or that's good. Yeah, I don't like that. I have no interest in that. Okay, it's pretty. I would have probably done it this way, but I get it. So you have a different optic, right, to see different things. At what point was it when you're coming up and you guys you were talking outside and you're like, hey, we're so competitive that, hey, 6 years ago, the whole prank concept, we no longer do pranks, all this. We're a big prank family ourselves. When was it, and even maybe from your pops, did Dad drive you guys to compete against each other, or did Dad drive you guys to compete against the world? What was his selling point to the two of you?
I don't think it's something that we learned from my father. Okay. My father didn't have a brother or another guy in his life who were close like me and Andrew. I think it's something that happened organically. And it's not so much competition against each other in terms of what I can do and he can. It's more like, how much am I going to contribute to the team that you don't? So a perfect example, this house is set up literally perfect for it. I'll come down in the morning, 7 a.m. Andrew's at his laptop. We'll go there's an exercise we hate doing. You put 30 kilograms on a burpee bar, on a weight bar. You do a burpee, lift it above your head, and you do it 150 times. It's tiring, it's horrible. So I'll do them and I'll say, Andrew, you're a pussy. Why haven't you done them yet? Then he'll do them. And then I'll go do them again. Just because I know if I do them, he has to do them. That's not, people could see it as two men competing against each other, or you could see it as two men within the same house getting stronger and pushing each other to become stronger. When we're racing around racetracks, we're both, I guess, professionally trained drivers. We have lots of track experience, lots of road experience. The fact that he will drive faster than me will inspire me to do better in myself. Then me and my brother as a team are better drivers. It's not two men competing against each other. It's us against the world, but that's something that happened very organically. And he's always been the better kickboxer. I'm bigger maybe I'm probably fatter, but I've certainly got more muscle as well. But people see me smash the pads, and amateurs, like a girl I knew once said, "Oh wow, you hit the pad so hard. Can you beat Andrew in a fight?" I'm like, no. When I try to punch Andrew, I punch nothing. I hit air, and he ends up counter punching. So he's always been the better kickboxer. But I can take that and be like, you know what? Good. He's the 4-time world champion. Good. That's my brother. And just be proud. It's us against the world.
So that wasn't Pops. That was more you guys.
Yeah, it was us. It wasn't my anything my father naturally instilled. He certainly wouldn't let us fight and argue with each other. He had some unconventional punishments. If we were ever arguing, he'd lock us in a cupboard together to sit there and stare at each other.
He told us that story.
He told you that story.
Just sitting
so there we go.
Staring
that
at
way,
each other
that
for
way,
hours
that way,
on end.
that way, it's true.
When you're sitting staring at your brother because you guys were acting up and fighting or whatever, you might want to implement this for Dylan and Tico if you boys see this.
It works.
You're staring at each other.
Yeah.
What did you learn about your brother at that point? What do you think he learned about you? Just sitting staring for hours on end as a punishment.
I think you just realize that the conflict has no benefit. You're going to end up standing in that cupboard. That's the payoff for your conflict. There's no victory competing against your brother. And we grew up in Luton as a huge Asian diaspora, I guess. Lots of Indians, lots of Pakistanis, lots of Sikhs, lots of Muslims. And these people work as a team. It's one of the reasons they outcompete British people, native British people, in almost every single metric. And we knew a guy named Bali. I hope Andrew hasn't told you this.
No.
So he was a lawyer, probably £50,000 a year. And he drove a $400,000 Ferrari, a £400,000 Ferrari, and a £500,000 Rolls Royce sometimes. And we were saying, do you think Bali's a drug dealer? What do you think he's up to? And me and Andrew at the time, had quite a close brotherhood. And he looked at us one day. I said, Bali, how do you have all this money? How do you get these fancy cars when you're just a lawyer? And you're relatively young. He was like 26, 27, about 5 or 6 years older than I was at the time. And Bali's exact answer was, I remember he said, you white people are stupid. Now, I'm mixed race. He wasn't talking anything racial. He was talking about, I guess, native British people. He says, you will have 5 sons, or your father may have 5 sons, which for someone in my culture, he was a Sikh, an Indian Sikh from Punjab. He said, that's a jackpot. And this Englishman's 5 sons will all move out of the family home. They'll pay 5 rents, probably to people like me. They'll take 5 different student debts out, go out 5 different career paths. They'll get 5 different mortgages, marry 5 different women, and never see each other again. You see, my father had 5 sons. Now I'm a lawyer. My brother's a dentist. My father's an engineer. My other brother owns a construction company. And every single skill set that they needed to flourish was within the household. So we all live in the family home. We pool our resources. Our women work together and prepare food for us. We work, and every time that we have new children or the family is expanded, we just expand the house. My brother owns a construction company, and that way, as a group, we have 3 Toyotas, 1 Ferrari, and 1 Rolls Royce, and we can all use them anytime we like. And that was what introduced me and Andrew, because we were flat broke at the time. We had nothing to share. To the idea of certainly, you know what, if we can buy a supercar together, one nice car, then we can just share that car. And now, thanks to his car addiction, we have, 40 plus, minus the 10 or 11 that have been temporarily seized by the Romanian government. But yeah, it introduced us, I guess, to the concept of pooling your resources and sharing. And you know what? He's 100% right. That is a lesson you can learn from the Indians, from the Pakistanis, because it's benefited us massively.
And you guys live together here in this amazing compound. And Andrew said he foresees himself living with you the rest of his days.
Yeah.
How much of a factor was those stories from the Punjab guys to today living in Romania?
You know what? That was massive. And I don't speak to Bali anymore. So if you're out there, Bali, and you're listening, thank you for that. But people will even ask that nowadays. The way that, when you're a high net worth individual, the way things are owned is very tricky. You don't want, no high net worth individual has everything in his name. Let's just put it that way. But it's complicated the way things are owned. So sometimes people will ask me, there'll be 5 cars on the drive, and girls especially who are naive to these things will be like, which ones are yours and which ones are Andrew's? My honest answer is I don't actually know. I have to look at the papers to work out exactly what, but it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. The keys are in this box in that room, and we can drive them whenever we like, and we never argue because there's so many. And when you build that abundance and you build yourself to the level of wealth me and Andrew are at, what are we going to argue about? There were times when we were kickboxing where we didn't have money for food. We used to eat cans of sardines, and there have been times splitting our last can over plain rice. Mm-hmm. So now people are like, it's weird that you share a house with your brother. I'm like, it's weird that you don't. I used to share my last can of food with him, and now we can't live in the same house. I've got 9 bedrooms. It's not like we're cramped for space. And otherwise, we just live in 2 separate houses with 4.5 bedrooms each, and drive to each other's houses every day. It wouldn't make sense.
But there's got to be 100% trust for this to work.
Oh, 100%.
Which is what you guys have.
But me and Andrew have a 100%
It's very
trust.
obvious.
Yeah,
very obvious.
Trust.
So he gave you some love. What would you say about him? Like from your perspective, what strengths, who is Andrew to you, and maybe what are some strengths and things he does that the rest of the world doesn't see that you know?
Andrew is the hardest working man I've ever met. Even with the lifestyle he lives now, and as fun as it looks, and it is fun, and all the fun shit we do is real. Even if we are in a luxury hotel in the south of France where you're paying $10,000 per room, Andrew will be up at 7 o'clock in that hotel gym. He'll message me at 8:30. I'll wake up next to God knows who. Whiskey spilled all over the desk. But again, that inspires me. And he'll be like, emergency meeting in my room. Emergency meeting, we always say that. So I'll go to his room. So
the whole world is
what's the
emergency meeting.
And he'll bring up tiny issues with the business that, I could have slept on quite happily. But again, it's like me doing the exercise when he won't. It pushes me to be a better person. And Andrew will happily work 15, 16 hours a day and then go out and spend 4 or 5 hours having fun and blowing loads of money. It doesn't come from the sky. It's not magic. We're not trust fund kids. We didn't win the lottery. He is the hardest working man I have ever met. And the fact that I can even live with him and try to keep up is a testament to me, because it's difficult,
Because it's constant.
Yeah, and people don't see the work. People don't see the work. Me and Andrew, we're in good shape. I don't post training videos and, fitness progress videos. I just do the work and let the results speak for itself. In terms of money and in terms of business and success, that's Andrew. Everyone's like, well, how does he have all this money? Maybe he's a criminal, So how does he have all this money? I know why he has all this money, because he's sitting right there at that desk at least 10 hours a day, even when we're not on house arrest. He'll be out in the evenings having his fun, and that's what we'll show to the world. This whole, hey, look at me, I'm at my laptop and I'm going to grind away for 6 hours. No one wants to see that on Instagram. No one wants to see that on social media. It's boring. They want to see you driving the Bugatti with a cigar in your mouth and a beautiful girl next to you. But that doesn't come without sitting at that desk for a good while first.
When's the last time you told Andrew no? Meaning, hey, I have an idea. Here's what I want to do. I'm the hardest working man in the world. Here's what I'm doing. I have an agenda. And you go, no, bad idea. Let's do this instead. Do you ever tell him no? How does this work in this relationship?
I guess the answer to your question would be, tell Andrew no why. We're 2 men with the exact same vision, aiming for the exact same goal. It's that old saying, with great power comes great responsibility. So telling Andrew no, you have to understand, I'm the only person in the world who can tell him no. Ever since Dad died, it's me, and that's it. So I'm not going to use that power over something trivial, over something that is a recommendation. If I don't think he should do something, I just know when he really, really shouldn't do something. And then I'll say no, but I literally can't think of an example. I can't. No, I can't think of an example where I've told Andrew no in the last couple of years.
That's the dynamic of the relationship between the two of you guys.
Indeed, but he's also the only person who can tell me no. And he doesn't really tell me no for anything. You know, I'm still a 34-year-old man, little brother or not. He's 36. I can make my own decisions. And none of us have the tendency to ever do anything that's really stupid. So...
At the peak, who was funner to party with?
Oh, I've always been the funnest to party with. Really? I'm still the fun one to party with today. No, don't worry about the peak. I haven't reached my peak yet. I'm still working on it. Yeah. I'm the one, Andrew, I'm the kind of guy, I definitely take the party a bit too far. I'll give you an example. We'll go out to the club, there's 5 guys, 15 girls. We're all having fun, we're all partying, etc. We'll come home, Andrew will be like, okay, well, this is the girl I'm with, I'm gonna go to bed. It's 3 a.m. I know I could go to bed with one of these women at any one time. Back in my party days, I've calmed down a bit on the womanizing, I really have. And he'll be in bed at 3. I'll still stay up till 6, drinking with the guys. Because I think, let me squeeze the maximum amount of fun out of this night as possible. So obviously it gets ruined when it gets to 6 o'clock and the girl I like is now asleep or home. And it's like, oh, wait, well, you know, I definitely messed that one up. But I'll certainly try to have as much fun as possible. And it comes back to bite me sometimes. But
when's the last time you partied? You've been in jail. You haven't had one day of freedom this year.
No.
Right? You guys are known as these kickboxing, badass, womanizing party guys. But Andrew's been very subdued. He's converted to Islam. He's not drinking.
No, he doesn't drink anymore.
When's the last time that you had a fun night out on the town?
A fun night out on the town, I don't know. But I had a fun night right here in my house when my camera guy showed up. I'm going to say his name. His name's Bailey. I'm going to say it. I don't care if he wants to. He can censor out. Don't give him editorial control. So he got here. I thought, you know what? Bailey's here. That's something new. You know, I've been locked in jail. Now I'm on house arrest. Let's open a bottle of champagne. Don't worry, Bailey. Just one. 4 bottles of champagne later. And Bailey's like wishing for death. I'm like, you know, okay, fine. I'll let him go to sleep. But we stayed up all night talking politics, history, very, very interesting things, along with my coach, my physiotherapist, Alex, who hates drinking, by the way, but he'll partake sometimes. And, you know, it was just 3 guys together talking about, I feel like it's the way things should be and the way things certainly were before mobile phones. Nowadays, everyone's too connected digitally. They speak to each other online too much. Everyone WhatsApps each other, checks on their friends that way. I like sitting around with my friends and just drinking and talking and having a good time and learning new things from them and telling them new things that they don't know. I find that to be incredibly fulfilling.
So
you were saying interests. You said cutters. You collect cutters and all this stuff.
I collect cigar lighters and cigar accessories. I'm a nerd about my cigars. I'm a real nerd about it. I tried my first cigar when I was 28. And now that I smoke a lot of cigars, people will accuse me of saying, oh, well, you try to teach values, but you encourage smoking. I don't encourage smoking. These are bad for you. But if you do them, train really hard in the gym, get as fit and strong as possible, at least try to compensate the damage. But yeah, I'm a nerd about my cigars. I smoked my first one when I was 28. I had a car crash, which stopped me from professionally fighting. I had some surgery just a year and a half ago to fix all that damage finally. But I thought, I can't fight anymore. I've always thought cigars looked cool. I'd never smoked a cigarette or any kind of tobacco product up until that point. And I walked into the cigar lounge. I thought, oh, yeah, this big Cuban cigar, let me buy one of these. I had some money even back then when I was 28, and I got this cigar. Got about halfway through and my head was spinning. I don't know how I drove home. I felt horrible. But yeah, now I smoke 2-3 cigars a day sometimes. Some days I'll go without smoking, but the accessories are what make it cool. You know, even here on the table, these have been here since your podcast with Andrew, but it's the lighters I like, the cutters I like. I'm a real nerd about it. Before going out, I'll pack my cigar cases, etc., ready for the club. Yeah.
What's your preference? Like, what do you go to? What's your go-to cigar?
Cigar? My favorite cigar is actually... So you have to liken them to champagne because most people won't know what we're talking about if we do cigars. So I'm going to make it more interesting. People who don't know champagne will say, yeah, give me some Dom Perignon. Every single time. I don't even like champagne. I don't like any champagne. But there are old Frenchmen who know that there's a Veuve Clicquot bottle that's better than the Dom Perignon if it's the right year, etc. So with cigars, everyone goes Cohiba. When you can buy Cubans, when you're outside the United States, Cohiba is the Dom Perignon of cigars. It's got the yellow label. Everyone likes Cohibas. But this is not my favorite brand of cigar. But my favorite is H. Upmann. Now, they have a European name, even though they're Cuban, because a German businessman started that company in 1848. Cohiba was founded in 1966. It has much more history behind the brand, a much better quality cigar in terms of build and flavor, and they're about half the price. But me smoking H. Upmann's is not a budgetary decision. I mean, I'll buy cigars from the 1950s and smoke $6,000, $7,000 cigars just because I enjoy them. But H. Upmann are by far the best brand, hands down.
Can I give a quick shout out real quick?
Sure.
I only smoke cigars with two people. Their last name is either Tate or Sapala.
Okay.
So shout out to Matt Sapala, by the way. If you're watching this, you're going to love this. The finest of gentlemen, the Tates and the Sapala. That's it. That's a quick shout out. I very rarely smoke cigars, but if I do, it's with the Tate or
actually,
Sapala.
Matt Sapala did a Monect call with Andrew last time, I think, using Monect, and had a good conversation together. So going back to you, spiritually, Tate comes out, Andrew comes out recently announcing he's a Muslim, right? But in the podcast with us, he said, you're still a Christian. What is that conversation like between the two of you?
Well, you have to understand, if you are a fan of Andrew who watches him on the internet, he's converted to Islam, that's sudden. It wasn't sudden. It was a journey that I saw him go on, which certainly lasted at least 10, 11 months, up into the day he reverted, according to Muslims. I'll use the proper terminology. Up until the day he reverted. I became a Christian about 6 years ago. I spent a lot of my life as an atheist, and I'm so ashamed to say that. I don't like the word. I think it's a bad word nowadays, because I was young and naive and stupid enough to think that people could be perfectly moral and live in a perfect, harmonious society without the need for religion. And about 6 or 7 years ago, I looked around the world, literally, at what people were doing. The massive fetishization, I'll call it, of abortion, the degeneracy in society, and everyone's an atheist. I thought, are these my people? And I was living in Romania, the most Orthodox Christian country in the world. My daughter's maternal grandfather is actually an Orthodox Christian priest. And I picked up the Bible again, and I read it from cover to cover, front to back. And that was 6 years ago when I became a Christian. Now, ever since Andrew's reversion, I have not spoken about my religious beliefs, because there are teams on Twitter. So you guys get the exclusive. There are literally warring tribes on Twitter of Christian trolls, let's call them, and Muslim trolls, all fighting for my soul. Tristan, what do you believe in? Tristan, and I haven't mentioned my religion ever since Andrew's reversion to Islam. So there are people who think I'm a Muslim. There are people who know I'm a Christian. But for me, the values that are shared between the two faiths are both contrary to everything what Andrew would call the matrix is trying to shove down young people's throats and trying to program people to believe. I think the days of Christians and Muslims murdering each other in crusades and trying to take the holy city of Jerusalem, etc., are over. I think that there are ideological differences, and there are ignorant Christians who will be like, oh yeah, but Islam's a fake religion. But then there are ignorant Muslims who will say, oh, Christianity's a fake religion. Good, you're supposed to think that. They're different religions, and they do teach different things. They have different messengers, and they have slightly different messages. But as a whole, I'm perfectly happy living in a house when my brother is a Muslim, because 1, I respect his decision. 2, I understand why he reverted. 3, I understand that we have a common enemy we have an enemy in common, and we have the exact same goals. I feel like the religions now should be closer than ever before. It's fine to say, you believe things about God that I don't, and I believe things about God that you don't. But can we at least agree that this is wrong? And I feel like common ground would unite Christians and Muslims hand in hand if people were less standoffish. So I have no problem with my brother being a Muslim. He's quit drinking. I have lost my drinking partner. And the only reason I'm actually talking to you about religion and answering these questions, because I kept it very close to my heart and I haven't spoken to anybody about it, is because I am publicly drinking whiskey.
Well, if you need a new drinking partner, Tristan, I can help you out here.
Absolutely.
And
and you're Jewish?
Yes,
There we
most
go.
of the time.
Muslims refer to Christians and Jews as people of the book. And you have to understand that Muslims hold Christians in very high regard. So I've read, even since getting out of jail, I've read 4 books on Islam since getting out of jail. And I was actually quizzed by a Muslim scholar who lives in the United Arab Emirates. He said, Tristan, are you ever going to revert to Islam? And I said to him, reversion or conversion to any religion, I don't believe it's something that you do. I believe it's something that happens to you. If you look into a subject and you read the Bible and you read about, Christianity and you read about the life of Jesus Christ, you don't think, screw it, I'm a Christian. I feel like it's something that would have to happen to me, not something I'd choose to do. And I've even had people say, your life would be better if you reverted to Islam because, there'd be benefits of you living in the Middle East, etc. And I said, no. How disingenuous would that be to my Muslim friends and colleagues, of which I have many, to revert for any beneficial reason other than me genuinely feeling it within my soul. So that's the reason I haven't. Not because I haven't chosen to, but because it hasn't happened to me.
Right, so that means it could happen.
Yeah, absolutely.
Right.
Absolutely.
You said, so interesting, you just said something earlier, real brief. You tweeted out, you said positive pregnancy test, ?
Yes.
Unsure what to do? This is the sign you were looking for. Keep the baby.
Yes.
Raise the baby. By the time they are 2, you will thank God you read this and shudder that you ever considered an abortion. I understand you have a choice, but make the right one.
Yes, I did tweet that because I understand that there is now a chance with 1.8 million people following me on Twitter and 700,000 people watching each of my tweets that I may have just saved a life. I wasn't trying to make any point about the legality of abortion because everyone's arguing underneath the tweet, it should be legal, it should be illegal. I will actually upset both teams because I'm not pro-life or pro-choice. I believe that abortion should be legal under many circumstances, and there are many reasons why there are people in the world who for many reasons would need an abortion. What I do is I don't try to force my views on anyone else. So my view on abortion is very simple. I'm against abortion for me. I've made lots of money. I'm a smart guy. I'm a great dad. If I get some girl pregnant, even if it's by accident, it was my choice to sleep with her, and I'm going to make sure she brings that baby into the world and take care of it for the rest of its life. So